Hey guys, how's it going? Ghosty Rich here today, and I'm going to be swapping out the battery on my VW GTI. Reason why is because the stock battery on here, let's see if I can get this off on the first try again, is 480 amps. Now, for me, that's not enough. Because I like my audio, I usually need a little bit bigger battery, and second of all, that's one of the smallest batteries I've seen. Usually I like to use something a little bit more, so here I have my old one from my Mazda, which is 850 amps and 1065 cranking amps. So, cranking amps. See, I've got my little helper right here. Say hello. You gonna say hi? There you go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be putting this one in here today. So as you can see, we're going to need probably a 10 mil deep socket for these, so we can pull them off. As you can see, my positive and my negative, if I rotate this, there, my positive was on that side on my old battery, my positive's on this side. So I was worried, but when I looked inside there is a red wire. See that red? Means that I can bring it up right here, and the negative right there, I can bring right here. So we're all still fine. Measured my battery box, we're good for depth. And of course, the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure if you have a stock stereo in your car, you might need to have your stock stereo code. Now, what I mean by that is there's usually a radio code that can sometimes pop on if your battery loses power. You can get this by driving to your dealership afterwards, and they can get your code for you. If they try to charge you, say no. I've never ever paid for a radio code. I've had people try and charge me, but I've never paid for it. Tell them that's garbage, and of course they can usually get you in the right direction to get it for free. Hey guys, so at this point, once you've done getting it ready, you're going to want to take off the negative first. So this negative, loosen it off, tuck it in over here. Positive, loosen it off, pull it off, put it over here. Next thing you're going to see is you have a 13 millimeter bolt down there, and you're going to have to loosen that off. Now, as you can see here, I have a magnet. The reason why is I want to be able to do this and then lift up as I'm unscrewing and lift the whole assembly out. When I put it back on, I'll put the magnet on and I'll put it back on. It's always good to have a magnet like so that way you don't have to remove all the intake stuff. I can't remember, I think the intake tube just used to wrap around the same angle, and then you had your air box here. So if you can get in there, cool. If you can't and you do have to remove your air intake, it's not too hard to remove this section. I had to actually remove this all when I put in my aftermarket intake. So if you are wondering about that, what I'll do, or what I'll say, is you can always search my channel. I've shown how to remove the air box in another video if you have to remove that. Feel free to give that a watch. Just look up on YouTube how to install a Unitronic air intake on a Mark 6, and it'll show you how to do it. So give me 1 second, I'm going to get this old battery out of here. Alright guys, so if you take a look here, what I've done is I've got the battery out and I vacuumed everything up in here. Now what you need to realize when you're pulling this out is, one, you're going to have to loosen this. See how these separate, these edges? You're going to want to separate them so you can move them a little bit far apart, and you're going to need to do that over here. Now, how this battery system works, you unbolt the bolt there, that comes out like the whole plate, like I did with the magnet, and I showed you how I did it. Right here is a groove, and this is where the other side of the battery sits rather than having two tie downs. So when you lift it out, you'll have to lift it up on an angle, so like this, that sort of angle. Sweep up with the bottom of the battery and lift out, and it'll come off this. Basically, you have to get this edge out of it. Now when you buy your new battery, make sure that these edges line up. You need to make sure that it's the same distance, otherwise it won't come out properly or go in properly because of the hooking design. So make sure those line up, make sure it's all good. Let's get our new battery in. Now when you put it in, make sure that you bring it down on that same motion, so that way you can get that first hook in, drop down, and then you bolt it on. Okay, so stay tuned and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. To make this a little easier, what I did is I took the first half out. If you were trying to do the same, see those little hook teeth? You're just going to press on them so they come out. There's just those two. Once you press on them, this folds right out, and then you have all this room to work. It'll be easier for putting a screw in and also for getting the teeth on. The back half comes in. I'm going to try doing it without popping the back half out, because that back half will be crazy, since you'd have to get past this lip to get back in. Okay? So just in case you're wondering what I'm, how to make your life a little bit easier. Alright guys, so after you get all the battery and stuff back under the hood, I basically showed you what you were doing there. When you're reconnecting the battery, make sure that you put the positive on and then the negative last, because as you know, when you pulled the battery out, you pulled the positive or the negative off first and then you pull the positive. So you're just making sure you do everything in reverse, basically, with the video I just showed you. Next thing is when you first hop in your VW, you're gonna freak out because it's gonna do an ESP error. I even did a little bit and I was like, oh crap. So what you got to do is when it does it, I have a diagnostics tool. So as soon as I put it on, or my Unitronics programming tool, which showed me that, okay, it's showing that I replaced the battery because there was a low battery or empty battery. So I cleared all the codes. The next thing I did was, even though I did that when I started, it said ESP error when I started. What you need to do is start your car like this, and that's usually, this is where it'll go beep, and then it'll show you an ESP error, and you'll be like, oh my gosh. What you're going to do, start your car, and then from there, what you're going to do is take your car around the block. You don't even have to, just literally drive down the street and get it up to 15 kilometers an hour. And all that's going to happen is all of a sudden you'll be driving and you'll see your steering wheel light and the other light go out, and boom, you'll have no error lights. You'll turn it off, to start it again, you'll never have that error light again. Okay? So I hope this video helped you out with changing your battery. It can be a little bit scary when you're doing it with a VW. And of course, make sure you measure your batteries completely, otherwise it will not fit. Just a warning for you. Okay? Other than that, thanks again for watching. Press that like button if it helped you out, and of course, subscribe for more VW videos. Peace out.